everybody gives it 5 stars and is like, oh, it's so wild and crazy, I would be on the low road getting revenge. I'm just depressed. I'm sad, I'm depressed. Halloween is canceled. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I am going to be trying to read as much as I can in 24 hours for Halloween. And at the beginning of the month, I posted my entire horror TBR and I asked you guys to vote in the comments for which books you want me to read. I went through those comments and I tallied up all of the results and how many votes every single book got. Here were the top 10 voted on books. The book that ended up having the most votes was My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This had 40 votes and I'm very excited to read this. I love Stephen Graham Jones. I've read several books from him and I've enjoyed all of them. However, I have tried to read this before. Last time I tried to read it, I got very lost very quickly and I couldn't find my way back into the story. So hopefully this time it goes better, but clearly you guys either one, love this book a lot, or two, really want to hear what I think of the book. I feel like I've only heard amazing things about it, so I am very excited to read it. It is a slasher following a girl named Jade who loves slashers, finds herself possibly in the middle of one. I feel like this is gonna have a lot of conversations around horror movies, which I really love horror books that kind of tackle the horror movie genre. So I am very excited to read this since you guys would not steer me wrong, right? You would not make me read bad books, right? Today is October 30th. Tomorrow's Halloween. So today I'm gonna be reading My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This was the book that was voted on by you guys on my horror TBR. Out of all of the horror books that I have on my TBR, this one had the most votes, like by far. So today I'm gonna read this. Tomorrow I'm gonna do 24-hour Halloween readathon. So I've actually already started this. I am about 70 pages into it. I did want to make sure that like I started it before today because I have tried to read this before and I was so lost and so confused and I had to put it down. So I wanted to make sure that like I could get into the book and the story before today. Otherwise I just like knew that this would be a struggle for me. I'm very happy to say I'm 70 pages in and I'm loving it. This takes place in Proof Rock, Idaho, following a teen girl named Jade. She lives with her abusive father and is just really like struggling in life. At the very beginning of the book, she attempts suicide and is saved by the town's sheriff. And something about Jade is that she has an obsession with horror movies, but specifically slashers, and kind of views the whole world as if it is a slasher movie and thinks of people in terms of the tropes that their character would be in a slasher. So there are clues going on that lead her to believe that her and her town are now the center of a slasher going on. There's this new development that has opened up with like mansions for very like wealthy people to build their mansions on, but the land that they built on was like elk hunting territory. So there's a lot of like conflict between the newcomers who are coming in and like colonizing the land and then the native town folk. There's also a legend in the town because there, like 50 years ago, there is a summer camp where a bunch of people were murdered there. So there's just a lot of different things going on in this town and Jade is fully convinced that they're in a slasher movie. And she has just met the character that she believes is going to be the final girl. So she wants to like train this final girl and make sure that she has all of the information that she needs in order to survive. So that's where I'm at right now and I'm just gonna spend today reading this, staying warm, being cozy. Right now I'm gonna make some coffee, but I actually think I'm gonna make a hot coffee. I always make iced coffee, but like I think I need a hot coffee. And then we're gonna dive back into My Heart is a Chainsaw. I'm now like 100 pages into My Heart is a Chainsaw. And I wanted to give more thoughts because I am loving the main character. I'm relating to her a lot, but also I'm like, girl, what the actual fuck? Because like I said, she is really obsessed with slashers, but I think the way that I am reading her is that she uses slashers as like an escapism from her life, because we don't know much about her life at this point, but we do know she has a horrible father. And like, obviously at the beginning of the book, she tried to kill herself. She's really struggling. And I think that she's really like disassociated from herself and her life. And she views the world as her not really being a participant in it, but like an observer. And so she's very detached from things. So there are like the things that she thinks in her brain, I'm like, girl, you're crazy. There's this one scene that I just read. This isn't really a spoiler. She's starting to realize that like an actual slasher might be happening in her town, because there are these dead bodies that another character finds. She's like hiding, watching this character discover these dead bodies and like be traumatized by it. And she's like, yes, it has begun. She's like smiling. She's like excited about it. She literally is like a person watching a horror movie from the comfort of their home, but she's living it in real life. But she's so like detached from reality that she doesn't really see things the way that other people do. She literally is just like observing things as if she's watching a movie. And that's so interesting to me. She's a very interesting character, and I feel like she's the type of character who people are either really gonna love or they're gonna hate, because like the things that she thinks in her brain, she's a little delulu. She's a little, you know, she's a little crazy. I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? But I don't know, I love her. I'm relating to her a little bit. I don't know what that says about me. I'm also really loving the writing. I've always loved Stephen Graham Jones' writing in all of his other books that I've read. His writing is very specific and particular. It has kind of like a literary quality to it that I personally really enjoy, but something that I'm loving specifically about this book, and why I think I'm loving Jade's voice so much, is that at the end of every chapter are these essays called Slasher 101 that she's writing for one of her teachers about slashers. And it's literally just like these essays where she's just talking in depth about different slashers and slasher tropes and specific movies. It's so interesting. If you are someone who loves horror movies, just these essays alone, I'm like, yeah, Jade, tell me more. So I'm loving this. Like, I just feel like it's such a particular book. It's such a particular way of writing. It's such a particular main character to be following, and it is all working for me so perfectly. I am 200 pages in now. I just read a chapter that was really dark, and it revealed some things about Jade's past that like completely changes the way that I think about her now. Like, it gives more context to why she is the way that she is now, and it is so sad. Like, I am so sad. She is such like an interesting character. I wasn't expecting like to go into this having it be like, yes, it is a slasher and it's all about it being a slasher, but it's actually more about Jade as a main character. But I'm so nervous for Jade. I'm so nervous for her and like where this is going. I have no idea. And I'm depressed. I was like, let me read like a horror book to be scared. I'm just depressed. I'm sad, I'm depressed. What the fuck? I finished My Heart is a Chainsaw. I finished it like an hour ago, but I kind of just had to like sit with my thoughts, because the last line of the book made me cry, like sob, like cry, what it meant, the implications of it, the metaphor. I think it definitely changed my interpretation of the entire book. Let me just get this out of the way. 5 stars. 5 stars. I feel like I can definitely see this being like a controversial book in terms of like people either really loving it or hating it. I scrolled through Goodreads quickly to see like what my friends had rated it, and it was almost exclusively 5 stars or DNFs, which makes sense. I feel like this is the type of book that you're gonna love at the beginning or you're not gonna love it at all. Like, it's not gonna change your mind somewhere along the way. It spoke to me on so many different levels. One, just the horror level of it. This book is definitely like a love letter to horror movies, and I am such a huge horror movie person. Like, other than books, horror movies is like my #1 interest. I love following a main character who really has a strong passion for something, and you can feel that passion is real. The level of detail that she would go into about horror movies made that feel like such a realistic passion for her, versus like when you just have a main character who's like, oh, I like to read, and then like maybe they'll offhandedly mention Jane Austen, but like it never goes any deeper than that. This really went deep into its discussion and dissection of horror movies, and I loved that. Then on top of that, it's a very very character-driven book. But you would think that for a slasher book, slashers are usually more plot-driven, and like the characters tend to be more surface level just because everyone is expendable, people are probably gonna die, so diving into characters is not necessarily like the important part. But this was really, really exploring Jade as a character, and I loved that. It was a slow burn. I love a slow burn horror book, but I loved all of the themes in here, all of the ideas. I think there was a very strong theme around community and protection and like protecting your neighbor, which is very interesting because she brings up a lot about how like in slasher movies, the slasher character is usually someone who was hurt by a large group of people, hurt by their community failed to protect them from something. They're usually people who were outcasts, who were overlooked and undervalued, and that's why they then like turn into these like psycho killers. And so there's an emphasis on lack of protection that very much mirrors with like Jade, because she has a really horrible relationship with her father, and there is this theme of people not protecting her from him and being like an outcast in her community, and people just overlooking her, not protecting her, failing to show up for her. And the last line of the book, if it hadn't already been 5 stars, the last line would have made it 5 stars for me. That was just like the perfect way to end the book. I loved this. This was amazing. I'm so glad that you guys voted for this and made me read it, because I've had this on my shelf for years since it came out, and I'm so glad that I finally pushed myself to read it. And I'm very excited to know now that it's a trilogy. I cannot wait to read the second book, which is already out, and then I think the third book comes out next year. This was amazing. 5 stars. Incredible. So I'm gonna take a little break from reading, and then in a bit I think I'm gonna start my 24-hour Halloween readathon, but I don't know yet what I'm gonna read. So I need to figure that out. So I need to gather all of the books that I want to read tomorrow for my 24-hour readathon, because I'm actually spending tomorrow at my parents' house for Halloween, and I'm going there tonight. So I want to make sure that I have everything that I want to read. Ignore that my desk is messy. We don't need to talk about it, okay? I think I want to grab like some horror novellas. I have these 3, all of which I hauled recently and really did want to read this month. So I'm gonna bring these with me. We have Gone to See the Riverman, The Worm and His Kings, and then We Need to Do Something. I definitely think I could read all of these. Do I want a romance book? Do I have a romance that I could take that's quick? Ooh! I did want to read The Dare, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember if I read this, and I want to read Losers, but I think you have to read this one first, and I genuinely can't remember if I read it or not. So maybe I'll take that too, although, do I want to read this at my parents' house? I don't know. Oh, wait, no, I wanted to read this. Dark Harvest, because this takes place on Halloween, and I feel like I wouldn't want to read it any other time, so let's put The Dare back. This is doable for me. And then if I want anything else, I'll have my phone and I can get them on my Kindle. Before I go to bed, I am editing some videos right now, and I decided I would listen to the Britney Spears book while I did that, The Woman in Me. I am 2 hours into it right now, and I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I don't know if enjoying is the right word, because everything she went through was like really rough, but it's very interesting. And Michelle Williams does the audiobook, and she does a really great job. She actually sounds a lot like Britney. I don't know if that was something she did intentionally, or she just normally sounds like Britney and that's why they chose her to do it. So I'm gonna keep editing some more videos and keep listening. Come say hello. Oh, Loki, careful. Good morning. Oh. You're gonna sit with me while I do my makeup? Good morning, everyone. Last night, I finished the Britney Spears book. I listened to it all in one sitting, and it was so good, but like so sad. Like I was so depressed afterwards. I just felt so bad for her. And I can't believe that that is like, just like the idea that that's even something that can happen to somebody, let alone somebody so talented and successful and famous. Like that's just crazy. I definitely recommend it. Even if you're not like a big Britney fan or like a big celebrity memoir person, it's so like, it's really good just from like a person standpoint. Like I think that was the really good thing about the book, was that it really just made you see underneath it all, like she's just a person who was struggling so much and then taken advantage of at her weakest moment by the people that she was supposed to be able to trust. There was this one specific line that her father said to her, that, oh my, literally gave me chills because it was just so evil. And honestly, Brittany is better than me. If my family had done that to me and I got out of it, I would want revenge. I would not take the high road. I would be on the low road getting revenge. They would rue the day. So I need to pick my second book, and I don't know what vibe I'm feeling. Actually, I'm gonna see which one of these is the shortest, and then we'll do that, because I feel like if I like get the quickest things done early, that'll make me feel like I'm making more progress. I'm gonna look up the audiobook lengths, which actually I wanted to just mention. In one of my videos recently, I kept getting a bunch of comments from people being like, just different sentiments of like, audiobooks aren't real reading, you're not really reading when you're listening to audiobooks, you're cheating, all of like that same sentiment. And it honestly was really pissing me off for multiple reasons. One being the idea that you can even cheat at reading. We're not in school. We're not reading for a grade. We're not reading to write an essay. You can't cheat in reading. How you read is how you read. And it has no effect on anybody else. It's just very elitist. It comes from this like brand of thinking that like, oh, if you're not reading this type of book, this genre, this page length, this format, like if you're not doing X, Y, and Z, then you're not really reading. Like it just comes from this elitist idea, and it really annoys me. Two, it's even a myth that listening to an audiobook and reading the book with like visually is any different in your brain. You're processing the information almost exactly the same. And at the end of the day, like if you physically read the book and I listen to the audiobook, we can have the exact same conversation. If I never say I listen to the audiobook, you would never know, because we could have the same exact conversation about the book because we have the exact same information. That audiobook reading is even easier. It's not. It depends on how you process information. For me, I process information way better audibly. Is that the word? Auditorily. For other people, they can't listen for shit. Have you ever talked to someone and they don't listen to a word you say because they're bad listeners? Those people would suck at audiobooks. And then the thing that really just like grinds my gears, me specifically, is that audiobooks are an accessibility aid. That's what they were made for. They were made for people who can't visually read or who have problems visually reading as an accessibility tool to be able to do that. Yes, now they're very popularized and people use them for a whole list of reasons. That is what their original intention was for. And for me personally, I have a neurological disorder that makes it difficult for me at times to process information visually. Sometimes my eyesight is even messed up. So it just specifically pisses me off when people say that, because I'm like, wow, you're not only elitist, but you're ableist and you're dumb. That is my little rant on that. If you would like to comment even more about audiobooks, please do, and look like an idiot. The shortest one is We Need to Do Something by Max Booth. Oh, it's also a movie. Yeah, so all I know about this one, it's about a family who find themselves isolated in the bathroom during a tornado warning, and I think they're having like internal conflicts and crazy things happen. I don't know. It says it's a Pandora's box of horror. Unhinged, chaotic, with occult chills, deeply disturbing. Oh my god, what am I in for? I need to show you guys what is outside my window because it keeps scaring me. I keep looking over and thinking that someone is standing in the window looking at me, and it's just this scarecrow. Let me go outside and show you this thing. Look at him. He's so menacing, so creepy. Just, you know, my dad's Steeler scarecrow. Very on brand for him. I just finished We Need to Do Something. I don't think I liked it. I really don't think I liked it. I think I'm gonna give it 2 stars. Basically what happens is it's about this family who, they all pretty much hate each other. It's very dysfunctional. They're all kind of terrible. They have a lot of issues, and there is a tornado warning. So they all like barricade themselves in the bathroom to wait out the tornado, but then the tornado hits and a tree falls and traps them in the bathroom, so they're stuck in there together. And it kind of has like a time warp vibe to it, where like they're in there and they can't tell how long they've been in there, and they're just like slowly going crazy. It like gets very wild and crazy. However, I did not enjoy a single second of it because all of the characters just sucked, and they were very unlikable, and not even in a way that like I enjoy unlikable characters a lot of the time. Actually, like sometimes I prefer unlikable characters because they're just more interesting to read about. But these characters were unlikable in a way that was just never interesting for 1 second. And pretty much the whole book is just listening to them argue. And I just did not care. I did not care. Also, I have to say, this book now holds the record for a number of times the words fart and butt were mentioned in a book. Why do they keep talking about farts and butts? So many, like, I wish I had the Kindle version so I could search how many times fart and butt came up in this book. It was a lot. It was a lot. For why? For what reason? There's these instances where I'm like, you can just tell a man wrote this. Like, I already know it's Max Booth, but like, you can just tell because he kept talking about farts and butt. It's crazy though, because I was looking on Goodreads and like everybody gives this 5 stars. Everybody gives it 5 stars and I was like, oh, it's so wild and crazy. I don't get it. I don't get the hype. Not for me. Okay, I will now be starting The Worm and His Kings by Hailey Piper. Hailey Piper is an author that I have really been wanting to read. I actually own so many of her books. I have this one, I have No Gods for Drowning, I have Queen of Teeth. Like, all of her books conceptually sound amazing to me. I don't know why I haven't read one yet. This one, I believe, is about a monster in like the underground tunnels of New York, and like women are going missing. I don't know, it sounds like it might have like a cosmic vibe to it, which you guys know I love cosmic horror. Oh my god, it actually says one of the best cosmic horror novels I've read in eons. I just had to read the first chapter twice because at first I was like, whoa, what is happening? Because it literally throws you in like immediately. I thought there was gonna be a little bit of more like build up, but no, it throws you right in. It's very much giving like Alice in Wonderland, like Alice following the rabbit down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I had to read that twice because it just literally kicks off at like 60 miles an hour and I was like, whoa, what is happening here? I did not expect it to start that way. So I'm curious to see like where this is now going. Finished The Worm and His Kings. What? I'm gonna be really honest, at no point did I have any clue what was happening in this book. Here's the thing, I love cosmic horror. I love horror that gets so weird and strange and is confused, like has a confusing level to it. But I feel like for that to work for me, it has to start off being normal and then like ease you into it. This one just starts off so fucking weird and confusing at the beginning that I don't think I ever had a chance to like wrap my head around what was happening. And then it just kept getting weirder and weirder. And so I was just lost. I felt lost. Honestly, this entire book felt like Alice going down the rabbit hole. I felt like Alice. I was Alice going down the rabbit hole and I had no clue what the hell was happening. It felt just so confusing and nonsensical. Like I really wanted to like it. And the concepts and the ideas I loved. Like there's this like worm monster that has a cult following around it and all these people who like worship it. That idea is just so interesting to me, but I was just lost. I was lost and I felt like the book raced so far ahead of me that I never had a chance to catch up. Like genuinely, if you ask me what happened in this book, I have no clue. I'm so upset, you guys. Today is not going well. 2 2-star books, unacceptable. And the thing is that the other 2 books that I have are the ones that I'm not sure I'm gonna like. Like these were the ones that I thought I was gonna like. Because this book is an extreme horror. And I don't think I'm an extreme horror person, but I wanna try at least one where I fully say, yeah, it's not for me. But this book makes me nervous. And every time I talk about it, people are like, oh my god, that book is insane. I don't know. And then this one also, I heard mixed things about. So I'm like, okay, now do I just like read something else? Do I just like not read these and I pick something entirely different? Because if I swear to God, if I have another 2-star book, Halloween is canceled. Halloween is canceled. I don't know. I'm going to think about it for a minute and decide what I want to read. Okay, I decided to avoid reading another 2-star book. I'm going to read a Christina Henry because I love Christina Henry and I always try to read one of her books every October, and then for some reason this October I forgot. So I actually went back to that list of the books that you guys voted on because I own all of her books. They're all on my TBR and I wanted to see which one was the most voted for, and the one that people voted for the most was actually in the top 10, and that is Lost Boy, which is a dark Peter Pan retelling, and that actually sounds really good, and the audiobook is available from my library. So I'm gonna start that right now, and fingers crossed, this is a win for me. Otherwise, I'm gonna cry. I am halfway into Lost Boy by Christina Henry, and this was such a good decision because I'm already loving it. Like, just within the first chapter, I was immediately hooked, which is something that I feel with every Christina Henry book that I've read. The Girl in Red and Near the Bone are the two other books that I've read from her, and I loved both of them, and both of them were just like immediately captivated me. There's something about her writing that is just so engrossing, and like, you have to keep reading. Oh, I don't even know if I said what it's about. It is an origin story for Captain Hook. So it's about Hook before he was Captain Hook, when he's still like a young boy, and Peter Pan, who is his best friend, and he was Peter's first lost boy. And he loves Peter, like Peter is his best friend, but he's slowly starting to realize that Peter is not a good person, and he feels very protective over all of the other lost boys, specifically this one lost boy named Charlie, who is much younger than most of the lost boys are, and he just feels so protective over this like literal child, and he's starting to realize the flaws with Peter, this person that he loves with his whole heart. It's a very, very interesting story, and it's really reminding me of, I feel like I've mentioned this before, but I love the show Once Upon a Time, specifically the storyline when they were in Neverland and about Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, and it's really reminding me of that. So switching to this book was honestly the best decision. I did finish Lost Boy by Christina Henry, and I really enjoyed this. It's interesting because it was feeling like a 3-star book. Like, I was really enjoying it, but compared to the other 2 books that I've read from Christina Henry, it like it was good, but I wasn't as, like, when I read Near the Bone and The Girl in Red, I was like so captivated every single page. This one was good, but it didn't grip me as much as those 2 books. However, the last 20% of this book was so good. And I just feel like this was a really good villain origin story. Very much how Captain Hook became Captain Hook, why he hates Peter Pan so much. And it was great. It was so good. I genuinely think if you were a Once Upon a Time girly, you will like this book. This is now the 3rd book that I've read by her that I've enjoyed. So is Christina Henry one of my favorite authors? Maybe. But honestly, this was a great way to end October, a great way to end Halloween, a great way to end this vlog. To wrap up everything that I read in this video, we had My Heart is a Chainsaw, which was 5 stars. I am still thinking about the ending of this book. I probably will be thinking about the ending for a long time. The Worm and His Kings and We Need to Do Something, 2 stars. Unfortunately, these were fails for me. The Woman in Me by Britney Spears, I'm not giving that a rating just because I don't typically like to rate memoirs. It feels weird, but I loved that. Oh my God, like honestly, I still feel weird from having finished that. It made me feel very sad, but it was incredible. And then we have Lost Boy, which is a 4 star. So honestly, all in all, it was a pretty great selection of books, but I am all horror burnt out. So November for me is gonna be the month of cozy things. I wanna read cozy, sweet, cute, comforting. So if you have any recs for me, please let me know. But we are finishing off this 24-hour readathon. It is now about 10:30, which I started the Britney book last night at like 11. We're just about 24 hours. Thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe, and check out my Patreon where I post tons of exclusive content. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.